I'm Darran Crager,
And I'm his wife, Shelly Crager.
and we've been married for 36 years.
We have two amazing grown kids that are married and have blessed us with 3 great grandkids. And we're from Nampa, Idaho. Well, we live pretty active lifestyles and a lot keeps us busy. We're both heavily engaged in our work, our kids, and church.
Yeah, we have very active lives. Our day, we have to prioritize everything because we have so much going on. But we always start our day with reading the Bible, being in prayer. That's our first priority in life because that sets the stage. That's the foundation of our life, of how everything and how we do everything in our lives, professionally and privately in all of our relationships. So we start that way. And then I try to, by midday, go back into writing, continuing on writing another book.
I go to school for a long, busy day at school, but I'm also working on my doctorate right now. So I come home and I get to write alongside Darran, but on a dissertation while we're brainstorming ideas for our books as well.
Because of how we prioritize our relationships, we're able to get everything done and to maximize and be as professional, but without losing relationships.
So I started as a teacher and I taught for quite a few years. And honestly, I really didn't plan on going into administration. It was something the Lord just directed before me. I have an incredible passion of being in the classroom and inspiring kids and helping them to grow, not just from a academic standpoint, but really just helping them to grow into all that the Lord has created them to be. And I think the greatest joy in being a principal is it's expanded my sphere of influence. I no longer am just influencing a class of 25 kids. Now I have a school of over 600 kids.
We always have to start somewhere. And it's trial and error. We can go from book knowledge, what you learned in college, but you really don't become successful until you've taken some knowledge, then put professional, personal flair and input of your life into what you're doing, because experience is the best teacher. And so with that, I found out very early, as with Shelly and I, with all that we do, is relationships are the key to success. Be it with employees. We have to have incredible relationships with our employees and the healthy type of relationships, understanding who our employees are, how can we maximize what do they do well, and then take that and help them to do that even better. And because that fulfills their hearts and fills their cups. And once your employees are fulfilled, they are energized and just want to propel and to do more, which flows over to your clients. Being a business owner, there's a lot on your shoulders. And so you need to be able to prioritize what is first priority and what's last priority, because a lot of times they get mixed up in business. Now, how do we balance my professional life as a business owner and a writer? I guess a little bit with age and having some success that allows me to have time that I can back off on my company and let my employees run the business and operate at really high levels and keep the business running successfully. It allows me time now that I can kind of go into a semi-retired mode, I guess, not retired, but semi-retired, to have the time to spend 3, 4, 5 hours a day writing.
I think it also helps that we're both invested in the same thing. So the writing time comes a little easier when we're sitting down and we're doing that in sync together.
Yeah. In college, I was majoring in business management, and I was taking a class on business management. And 2/3 of the way through the class, one of the other students asked the professor, so you're talking all this of business organization, business management, and business ownership and stuff. Can you tell us your experience? Well, the answer was not what we expected. Professor goes, well, I've never done anything else besides just be a professor. I've never been a manager of a business. I've never owned a business. And the look on everybody's faces when the professor said that is the realization not to discredit this person, but the whole idea was we were getting information from an individual. We were being taught only what this person was reading and not from true life experiences. And it kind of shook my world and kind of woke me up to, wait a second, I want to learn from somebody that has gone through this, because it's not about book knowledge. It's good to have knowledge, but running a business or having a family, there's a lot more involved. There's emotion. There's good times, bad times. There's struggles.
Experience brings connection. So it's something, when you've had experience that you can play in and you're sharing your experience with somebody else, there's an automatic connection that can happen in there because it's relatable now. It's not, as your example with the professor, it's not somebody sharing something they've heard, it's sharing something they've lived. I think about from a teacher perspective. If I'm sitting in the classroom and I'm teaching kids how to do something, it's only through them doing it themselves that they learn. They can hear what I want them to hear, but the experience themselves brings the learning. Yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability that comes into play when you're sharing relationship things. And I think for us, what inspired us to probably share that is the Lord actually put pretty early in our life some incredible mentors that came into our marriage pretty early on. And I can remember looking at them thinking, we're going through things that they've been through before, and we're not the only ones experiencing this. And I remember that feeling, and that's something we really wanted to be able to give back to other people.
Yeah, it significantly helped us to let us know that we're not alone. This, what appeared to be this perfect couple, older couple, shared all the difficulties and pains and suffering that they had in relationships and saying this is normal. So yeah, Shelly and I, we love sharing our experiences. And after the first 2 or 3 times of opening ourselves up, actually it just opened the floodgates, and we don't care. It's awesome because we see the growth and the excitement in other people and how it's changed their lives. And it just, it's one of those feel-good things. It's like, you know what? Hey, I'm not perfect.
I think it's actually put us in a healthy place too. Because when you're vulnerable with other people, you have to be vulnerable with each other. And so it's really forced us to have conversations that have really helped our relationship too.
Oh, no doubt.
I think a lot of the fulfillment comes from when you're vulnerable and open yourself up, it opens other people up. And so for me, the fulfillment is being able to watch other people grow through that, through their hurdles, and go through the same experiences and in similar ways, but just have growth. I kind of think about, again, back to kind of a teacher perspective, you see the light bulbs come on, and there's such fulfillment in that.
Yeah, when you see a couple that's come to you, and a young couple that's been struggling and even thinking of divorce or whatever, and you can just give some words of wisdom and share your experiences that we can say, I know how you feel. Not saying, I can only imagine what you're going through. I can only imagine how you feel. No, we know how you feel. We've been there, and divorce is not an answer. And when they follow this path of growth, because we opened our lives up, opened ourselves up to help them to enrich their relationship and themselves, and seeing them 6 months, a year, or 2 years down the road and having a fulfilled life, and then they have children, and then they're being incredible parents and sharing what we have shared with them, with their kids and their friends and stuff. There's nothing like it.
We, early on in our marriage, realized that our priorities were pretty messed up. we're a young couple, we had kids right away, so we instantly had the priority of the kids coming first versus the spouse, and how do we balance all of that. And so I think that's kind of our reason for writing it, is the experience that we went through and putting our own life in order and seeing how that played out.
Yeah, Rochelle, it's just life gets in a jumbled mess, and you can't see clearly through the thick fog of chaos, and stress is involved, and your emotions get involved. And so we realized early on that there's basically 5 main relationships in our lives. And we prioritize them in order, and we're using the hand to prioritize them, because 5 digits. But basically down to it is where our number one priority in our life is God. God is our firm foundation. He's the number one priority. And once God is your foundation, is your first priority, everything gets built on that. So you have God. We put in order real quickly our spouse, then our children. You're going, whoa, wait. Hey, no. Your children come before your spouse. Well, that's what the world wants to tell you. And that's actually wrong. Because if you put your children before your spouse, what happens is after years, 18, 25 years down the road, each of you focused on your children and growing that relationship, and then all of a sudden they move out of the house, they're in college or something like that, you two are left alone in the house, and you look at each other and going, who are you? You didn't spend time growing this relationship because you focused so hard on the children that you forgot to focus on the marriage. So yes, God, marriage, your spouse, your children, family and friends, then your career, and then entertainment and activities and stuff. And the world kind of is always backwards, especially for men. We love our sports. We love to have fun. We love to do this and that. Then, our career is very important, and we want to be successful and financially support our family. And then we want to be great parents and a great dad. And then we'll spend time with our wife. And then if we got time, we'll spend time with God.
Yeah. And I think for women, it's the middle. I think for women, it's so natural to put your kids first. That nurture part of a mom is my kid. It's such a huge responsibility. They have to be first. But we see so many times where that priority takes over that destroys a marriage, because there's no relationship being built with the husband and the wife.
Yeah. So when we put our relationships in order, God first, spouse, marriage, kids, work, and our entertainment activities, it's very balanced, and it's very easy for God to connect with each of the relationships. When we get them out of order, which happens to most marriages out there, all of a sudden we want to put the job first, and then we don't want to forget the football games, and then our kids and stuff like that. And pretty soon, our whole life and our relationships out of order. And so you're asking God, please help me here, help me there. Well, your priorities out of order. And it's very hard for God to touch each of these different relationships because it's out of order. Now, if we put it back in order, it's very simple for God to touch your marriage, your children, your job, your career, and all the other activities. So what's wonderful about keeping everything in order is that you want God in your life, and you want Him to work in all the areas of your life. When they all come together, God can touch them all at one time, and everything becomes simply relational.
I think that came pretty natural, in that I think the only way we know where our help comes from. And so I think it was natural to infuse that in there. I think that the self-help part of it is really what is my active role that can play out in that. And the rest of it is how's the Lord going to work through us in that. So I didn't see it as self-help books. I think I saw it more as how are we going to use the experiences that the Lord gave us to reach people.
Yeah. It's we just consider them inspirational books, books that help guide people. Because self-help, it's not really. You got the word self, which kind of leads to focusing on yourself the whole time, which leads to selfishness and on down the line. But yes, we need to be responsible and helping ourselves, but with knowing where our strength and our wisdom and blessings come from, with God. So with having a foundation of being Christians and with God being our foundation, our first priority, it came very easy, because that's how everything to us is built on.
You've got books in the works right now.
Yeah, have a manuscript that's being worked on right now with my publisher, and it'll be another fiction book with a biblical worldview. And all my fiction books are Christian fiction, but they're full of mystery, they're thrillers, action, but have a biblical worldview. So they're very exciting, but encouraging, but clean.
Both of us are very invested in wanting to write leadership books, but from the perspective of a guide versus a leader.
Correct, absolutely. Yeah, because a leader, real quick, is you have this vision of somebody leading, and they say, follow me, and they turn around and you're just watching their back, and then leadership changes, and all of a sudden everything else changes, and you got to relearn what this leadership style is or something like that. But from a guiding perspective, a guide, be it a fishing, hunting guide, a guide that for an art gallery or museum, explaining everything, the guide is doing it with them, not like they're above them, but doing it with them and going through life and from experience, but doing it with them. And that's with leadership and with us professionally and how we do our careers and our family, is let's do it together, not just turn our back on our employees or back on our family and saying, follow me. There's not too much relationship going on there. It's just more of it's just all business. And so that's the one thing of being successful in business, is don't be too business-like. Be relational. Be relational with your employees. Be relational with your customers. Be relational with your family. Because at the end, God made everything to be simply relational. And yes, everything is very simple when you look at how God and why God did things, and He made them relational. So that's our mantra, I guess, is everything is simply relational.
Mm-hmm.